Welcome to the Thrive Show. My name is Kim O'Neill, and today I have with me Lori Eaton. Lori is a personal chef who had a rare disease called Eosinophilic Esophagitis, also known as EOE. In 2013, she became a certified health and nutrition coach, and after tackling her own disease and putting it into remission through dietary elimination therapy, she now helps others with health challenges in learning how to prepare meals with specific dietary limitations. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you, chatting about EOE.
It's nice to have you here today. So we're going to have a meaty conversation. I know that, and it's going to go by quickly. So I want to get started and just first ask you, I know today you're going to talk to us about being your own patient advocate and how to stick with an elimination diet. And your first tip is about keeping a written health history. What does that entail?
It's different for everyone. So for me, this is what I found. When I would go into the doctor, I would forget to say, oh, this happened or that happened, or I had symptoms this time or that time. So what I started to do, I just used a calendar. And when my symptoms arose, that would go into the calendar. Things I ate and then what happened afterwards. If I was fine, I usually would just write good day. Nothing was wrong. But on bad days, it got very, very specific. And those were the kind of things I used to key together what was going wrong in my elimination diet therapy, because I could not get into remission. And I was taking out so many foods. It was so frustrating. So the diary actually guided me to my decision of what I was going to try, because I created my own elimination therapy diet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. Okay. Well, I know in your case, your first doctor didn't actually know much about your rare disease. And so what do you recommend other people do when they're in a situation like that?
Well, everyone's different. Some people feel that they should stay with their doctor. If that's what you feel that you should do, that's what you should do. In my case, my doctor that diagnosed me admitted he really did not know much about the disease because it is rare. It's not an IBS type thing where just about every GI doctor understands some of the basics of IBS. Eosinophilic esophagitis is an immune-mediated disease, which makes it a little trickier to deal with. So I asked my doctor, the GP, he's a general GI, I should say. I asked him, do you know of someone who specializes? And he said he did. And I said, that's who I want to go see. That doctor that I see is 230 miles away from me. And that is the doctor I drive to see to take care of my EOE.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, your third tip for people is about educating themselves. Tell us more about how a person can go about doing that.
Well, we do live in this great age of technology. There is a lot of things out there that they're not scientifically proven. There are people's theories, things of those realms I try to stay away from. I read a lot of studies on EOE, drug trials that are happening for EOE. I've participated in some of them. You can actually go online, depending on where you live, and you can Google or do a search of some kind for trials for the typical disease that you have, the type of disease that you have. And then you can find out if there's anything locally, or even now with remote virtual care, you can participate in studies. And sometimes it's just writing out like a quiz almost. You just write down how you feel about things, how things have changed, that kind of thing. So that's all part of it. There's also a lot of different support groups that are out there. I have found so many that have been very, very helpful, just to give you the you're not alone feeling, because having a rare disease is extremely isolating because most people have never heard of it. I look healthy, so therefore people don't understand that I'm not so healthy. And having a support group of people who've gone through it and are going through it is just, to me, it's one of the best things I have. And I've found that all through technology.
That's such a great tip. Do you have any, just to go further with that one of looking for support groups, do you have any recommendations on where people can start to look for one that meets their needs?
Well, most people use Facebook. Facebook support groups, they're everywhere. On Facebook alone, I think I'm in 4 EOE support groups. One is even cooking with EOE, because a lot of people who have a disease like this are on a very limited diet. And it's very hard for people who don't know how to cook to begin with to be told, oh no, you can't use 80% of the ingredients most people are used to using. And that's one of the reasons why I have been trying to kind of recreate my company, going from cooking in people's homes to actually converting my website to an online resource for people who have elimination diet therapies that they are trying to follow, but they don't know what to cook. So there's so much out there. It's really, once you find one, it's often a lot easier to find the next one, because someone else says, hey, have you heard about this group? Try this group. It's just finding the groups that fit you. And I know people all over the world find other places. And I have a support group that's based in Brussels. So, you know,
Wow.
It's the wonderful part of technology for me, is being able to be connected to those people who struggle with the same thing I do.
That's awesome. Okay, well, now I know you have 2 main tips for elimination diets, and your first one is about preparing yourself mentally. Will you elaborate on that?
Yes, I am someone who loves to eat food. As a chef, I've literally been obsessed with food my whole life. So all of a sudden, realizing that 90% of my diet I was not going to have was really impossible. It felt impossible to do. So me being me, I made a deal with myself. If you can get through week 1, you're going to get a massage, facial, treat yourself. You just have to get through week 1. I guess I'm one of those people that can do that kind of thing. So if that works for you, fantastic. If it's another thing, a movie or a night out on the town, whatever it is, do it if that's what keeps you on track. And then the other thing that I did was trying to get myself through the whole trial. That's one of the hard things, because it's 6 to 8 weeks and it feels like forever. So I kept doing a weekly, but then I also gave myself like the grand prize for getting through it all, which was to go visit a friend of mine and just have a fun week, do whatever we want, go shopping, buy myself something pretty, whatever. So I recommend doing something healthy that would be good for you to keep yourself motivated. If that works for you, I strongly and encourage you to do it.
I love that. The reward system. That's fantastic.
The reward system, yeah.
Awesome. Well, your next tip for an elimination diet is about reframing your thinking. And I think that kind of started with the first one. And tell us more about tweaking that mindset.
So it's really hard when you start an elimination. And I bet people who've just started a healthier diet, like, oh, I want to cut something out, all of a sudden that food is the only food you think about and see. So it makes it very hard. And what you end up saying is, I can't have it. I can't have this. I can't have that. And that really, for me, it works on my psyche. I start to get resentful and kind of isolated and feel like I never get to eat anything. So I kind of reframed it. So when people would offer me something that was not on my diet, I would say, I'd love that, but I'm on a medical diet until I have some tests done. So I can't really eat that now, but down the road I will. And people often would back off instead of pushing, because a lot of people are food pushers, like, oh, just have a bite, just have a bite. And I'd say, no, I can't. I'm having a medical test done and I want the results to be accurate. So I can't eat that food. And once I did that, it felt a lot less like, oh, I can't have it. I can't have it. And more like, I have a test coming up. I want to make sure my results are accurate.
That's awesome. Well, what I hear from that too is that you were in a more empowering mindset too, of saying, yes, there's this option, but I'm going to choose this one, and really taking a stand for yourself and your goals there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, Lori, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know we could certainly go way deeper with all of this. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share before we close out?
The only thing I could say is, when you embark on an elimination diet, it is a challenge. The thing that you have to do is sit down and have a real conversation with yourself about what you have to do to get through. If a food diary helps you track your symptoms and make connections, that's great. If you have other things that come up, actually, I would love to hear about them as well, because anything that works for someone else could work for me and make things easier. Again, going back to support groups, finding people who are like you and finding out how they're coping, it just helps. It helps me. It might not help you, but I can't impress enough that having a rare disease is very isolating. And a lot of times you just feel like no one understands. So finding other people who are rowing that same boat with you, it really does help. And I encourage people to do those kinds of things.
That's awesome. Well, what I hear you say is you shared with us a lot of tips, and it also sounds like something that is very much a growth experience that really helps a person become more solution focused too, so that you can find that solution to a whole new diet and awesome.
And health.
And health.
My EOE is in remission because I found what triggers it. And now that I don't consume the triggers, I don't have EOE. It's in remission.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Absolutely. Lori, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to today's audience, thank you for being here. We hope you found value in today's conversation.